Good morning. My name is Mary Turner, President of Minnesota Nurses Association and an ICU nurse at North Memorial Medical Center in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. Today is a somber day. You know, over a decade ago, 12 years ago to be exact, 12,000 nurses went on strike in the metro. Today, 15,000 nurses in the Twin Cities, Duluth and Superior and Moose Lake are announcing our intent to strike. This strike is historic, not just because it will be the largest private sector nurses strike in United States history, but because it is the first time so many Minnesota nurses across the state will strike together. Over a decade ago, our issue was safe staffing. 12 years later, it's the same thing. The difference is our healthcare and our profession are in crisis. And we must stand together for each other, our co-workers, and our patients, and take this immediate action. Everywhere in Minnesota, nurses have watched CEOs with million-dollar salaries understaff our units, pushing us to do more with less, even before the pandemic hit. Patients are being treated in our ED hallways. Falls, deaths, and adverse events are going up. Is it any surprise that overworked, underappreciated nurses are quitting in droves? A recent study showed that by next year, 51% of the nurses across the nation will leave the bedside. People, that is a public health crisis. So it is with heavy hearts we take this action. Nurses don't want to be away from the bedside. We are called to care for the people of Minnesota. It is why we went into this profession. It is why we stayed through all those dark days of the pandemic. None of us left our posts those 2.5 years of the pandemic. But we are at a crisis, and we have to do something about it. And that's why the public, our elected officials, our other unions are all standing with us, because we know that they know that we don't have any choice. Our patients see the effects of corporate healthcare practices every day. They experience long waits in the waiting rooms. They lie in their beds waiting for their call lights to be answered. They have received outrageous medical bills from the hospitals. Nurses and patients are living with consequences of hospital executives' misplaced priorities. But nurses have just one priority in the hospital, and that is to take care of patients. So that's why we're taking this incredible step, because there is a crisis in our hospitals, and the future of our healthcare system depends on the choices we make now. It is time to put patients before profits in our hospitals. Thank you. I would now like to introduce some of the nurses to tell you more about our decision to strike. Next up would be Chelsea Schefter from Fairview.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Schefter, and I'm a mental health RN at Fairview Riverside. Here we are after 16 bargaining sessions with Fairview. Here we are after being told not interested by our employers session after session, or even most recently, we were told, once we say no to something, we need to move on. When we say no, we are done. I want to reiterate to the public today, this is not where we want to be. Nurses want to be at the bedside, caring for our patients, but corporate healthcare continues to prey on nurses' empathetic nature as we give more and more to ensure patients are cared for and our fellow nurses have the help they need, all while we continue to get minimal to no help from our employer. Something must change, and this is why we have given our 10-day notice today to strike. Nurses have come together to create solutions for many of the issues we have been experiencing, solutions which will retain and recruit nurses at the bedside, safe staffing, work-life balance, competitive wages and benefits, to name a few, but yet we are told we are not the experts. Nurses are the experts. We are there every day at the bedside providing care, Our jobs cannot be done sitting at home in front of the computer on a Zoom meeting. The employer has showed us, despite what they are telling you all, they are not serious about settling a fair contract. And while they push the mediation narrative, I ask, how is a mediator going to mediate a no response? A mediator is not going to force the hospital to negotiate a contract that is fair to the nurses and fair to the patients we serve. This is why we are here today, to ensure patients get the care they deserve and to ensure we have the nurses at the bedside to do just that. And next, I have Katie Donner from Health East.
Hi, my name is Katie Donner. I work at St. John's Hospital. I've been a nurse there for over 10 years. This is not what we wanted to do when we decided to become nurses. We wanted to be inside taking care of our patients. Unfortunately, the best way for us to ensure our patients and our profession get what they need is to be outside fighting for patient safety, safe staffing, and safety for our nurses. If we don't take a stand right now, these basic necessities will not improve for any of us. It's heartbreaking and against all of our moral fibers, but if this is what needs to be done to ensure change, so be it. We have come to the table with open minds and reason and have been met with resistance and disregard. Our members have come to negotiations sharing their experiences and bringing up their concerns and have been told, thanks for sharing, with no meaningful conversation to come to an agreement. We aren't asking for unreasonable items in our contract. More security, panic buttons, better staffing, retention programs, COVID recognition, mental health care for our nurses post-pandemic, to name a few items. Our patients deserve better. Our families deserve better. Our communities deserve better. We deserve better. We will see you on the picket line. The next nurse that's going to speak is Brianna Nath from North Memorial.
Good morning. My name is Brianna Nath. I am an ICU nurse at North Memorial Health Hospital. I had the privilege of speaking with you more than 2 weeks ago when we announced that our members had voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. Today, I stand before you representing nearly 1,000 nurses at North Memorial and nearly 15,000 nurses across the Metro, Duluth, and Moose Lake to announce our strike plans. As I stated previously, we do not take going on strike lightly. We want to be at the bedside, taking care of our patients, but we feel that this strike is necessary to keep our patients safe in the long run, to improve health care across the state, and ultimately to save our profession. We had hoped that after announcing our authorization to strike, that we would make some gains at the negotiating table. Unfortunately, this couldn't be further from the truth. North Memorial is focused on diluting our proposals and hoping the union drops them. We feel that our CEO, Dr. Kevin Croston, needs to come to the table to help settle this contract and for the North Memorial Board of Trustees to recognize the inability of the current administration to lead this hospital and these incredibly important negotiations. We continue to be asked to do more and more with less and less. Not only is our profession suffering, our patients are as well. This past weekend, we had 14-hour wait times in our emergency room. Managers were called and asked to come in to help, but did not. Can you imagine waiting 14 hours just to be seen in the emergency room? This was not inclusive to just the ER. Several units were told to flex up, just take more patients with not enough nurses. If things continue on as they are, this will be the new normal. Nurses will continue to leave the bedside, and patients will bear the brunt of this. It is time to settle a good and fair contract that raises the standards for all workers and thus our communities. We have endured a global pandemic and are in uncertain economic times. Many working people across the state have experienced hardship while the top executive and corporations saw record profits. Our union and our nurses are saying enough is enough. This uncontrolled corporate greed has to be checked, and all workers must be treated with dignity and respect. It is the nurses and our fellow healthcare workers that have ensured the profitability of North Memorial, allowing our CEO to make over $1.4 million in 2020, which was a 12.2% increase from 2019. They continue to tell us they don't have the money or the means to agree to various proposals, but the fact is, they do. I, along with 15,000 nurses across Minnesota, are ready to do what it takes to ensure we can provide not only safe patient care, but excellent patient care. We are ready to stand together and fight this fight to preserve our noble profession. I have never been so proud to be a nurse, and we all look forward to taking care of our patients because we know that nurses put the health in healthcare, and we will continue to fight to put patients before profits. Thank you. Next up is Tracy Dittrich from Children's.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Dietrich. I'm a nurse at Children's Minnesota on the Minneapolis campus, and I work in the emergency department. Today I stand with my fellow nurses from across the state of Minnesota. Together, we voted to authorize what will be the largest nursing strike in our nation's history. Nurses do not take this step lightly. We have always worked to provide the best care to our patients. Over the last several years, this has become harder to do. This is because the hospitals have seemingly focused on profits instead of joining together to develop strategies to help us provide the safest and best care that we can. Children's nurses have continued to provide exceptional care in spite of the challenges we have faced over the last several years. We have dealt with furloughs, unit closures, layoffs, extreme short staffing, and threats to our safety. And through all of this, we have still showed up to care for our patients. Throughout negotiations, we have been told that our professional nursing judgment is less valuable than hospital policies. When nurses shared horrific stories of their worst shifts, they were told that their perspectives didn't matter. We care for the most vulnerable population, children. We want the best for our patients. We want to be listened to and recognized as the kid experts we truly are. We have been negotiating since March so that we may reach a fair contract. Our goal is to recruit and retain nurses through safe staffing, dependable schedules, insurance premium stability, a safe working environment, and a fair wage. The hospitals will tell you that there is a nursing shortage and they are unable to hire nurses. There is no nursing shortage in Minnesota, just a shortage of nurses willing to work in this unsafe environment where we cannot give the quality care that we know our patients deserve. I know that the nurses in Minnesota are ready to get back to the table and negotiate a contract that will benefit all the people of Minnesota. Nurses want to do what we do best, care for you and your family. Next up, we have Ali Marcanti from Alina. Hopefully I said that right.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, everybody. I'm here to speak about a union proposal currently on the table that the hospitals have either ignored or stated that they're not interested in. This is unfortunate because this proposal would make great strides in the critical issue of nurse retention and easing nurse burnout. Hospitals cannot continue to refuse to adopt measures aimed at nurse retention and expect to maintain status quo with the vast number of nurses leaving the bedside. Paid family leave is a retention strategy that many employers in this country are beginning to adopt, including my own employer, Alina Health. 2 weeks paid family leave is offered to all non-contract employees at Alina, meaning only if you are not part of a union are you offered the meager 2 weeks paid leave. Minneapolis city employees just received an increase to their paid paternal leave from 3 weeks to 12. As a nurse at Alina, you need to work for 2.5 years before you will have enough PTO to pay yourself for a 12-week leave. This means a new nurse will potentially have to put their family planning on hold if they wish to remain financially stable during the crucial time meant for bonding with their newborns. This also assumes that a nurse does not take any sick or vacation leave within those 2.5 years. The hospitals need to join other progressive employers in offering paid family leave to the employees that are the backbone of their institutions, the nurses. Another proposal on the table will provide parents that suffer a miscarriage or suffer the loss of a minor child paid 12 weeks off. This really seems like a no-brainer for an employer like Alina that purports that, quote, evidence-based, family-centered care informs everything they do. According to the International Labor Organization, 120 countries offer paid family leave. We can do better, and we can start with the individuals that have given it all during the last few years. Thank you. Next, we have Victoria Z. Handler from Methodist.
Hi, good morning. My name is Victoria Z. Handler, and I am an RN in the post-anesthesia care unit at Methodist Health Partners Methodist Hospital. We nurses at Methodist are ready to strike because we firmly believe in patients before profits. Quality patient care begins with safe nurse staffing levels, and the administration of Methodist has shown multiple times they have no interest in ensuring these staffing levels are met. We have been told that our requests are aspirational and cost too much money, even while the CEO of Health Partners is paid $2.4 million. The Methodist nurses know that patient safety relies on nurse staffing levels. As of yesterday, one of our observation units was closed for the day due to only 2 nurses being scheduled. They were trying to require those 2 nurses to take 8 to 10 patients each. We want to make certain our patients get the best care with the best possible outcomes. Thank you.
Any questions?
Mary, I know last time we spoke, you said that you're going to talk when you authorized the strike to decide how long you would strike. Can you talk about why your decision is 3 days and what you're going to do in those 3 days?
First of all, when we make a decision, it's usually, it is the 13 hospitals, and we vote by 2/3. And so we were between a 3 and a 5, and the vote was for 3. And so to honor the process, that is what we came up with. And so our strike will be from 7 a.m. July 12th to September. Yeah, we're going to wait a whole year. No, you can cut that part out. 7 a.m. September 12th through 7 a.m. September 15th. So it will be 3 day shifts, 3 evening shifts, 3 night shifts.
And Mary, I know you guys care a lot about the patients. What's going to happen to them during this time?
That is why we do a 10-day notice. Make no mistake, this is crunch time. We are willing to be, and I anticipate the amount of time that we're going to spend at the table should increase exponentially. They need to see it as the crisis that it is. We've said over and over that this isn't something we do lightly. But we're not going to just sit back and do nothing. We can't. So they do have, like I said, you can walk out on Starbucks and you don't have to give a notice, but it's far different in our profession. So they have 10 days to figure it out.
Mary, the last time we talked, you had said that some of you were going back to the negotiating table as soon as that day when you announced that you were intending to strike. Did you make any progress whatsoever?
None whatsoever, and they didn't acknowledge our vote. They didn't acknowledge they've been very, for want of a better word, arrogant since that time. We got one, Katie, I think is going back now. She's on her way back to the bargaining table. See, we're serious about this, okay? And we have been all along. We're trying to figure out ways. We even had legislation. That's another thing that's different from a decade ago. We even tried the legislature. When a decade ago, the legislature would have never even said, hey, figure it out at the bargaining table. We have done everything. All of our proposals are designed to keep nurses at the bedside, and I cannot reiterate enough, the public health care crisis is on its way here. If 50% of our nurses leave the bedside, and just to give you an example what this looks like, we don't have a representative from Duluth here, but Chris would say there was one weekend just recently up in Duluth that they put out the schedule for the weekend with no nurses scheduled for days, evenings, or nights. For 3 days, they had no nurses scheduled. That meant that they just had to figure it out. Now, people, that's going to be the way of the future. It's mind-boggling when you think about it.
You've been through negotiations before. How is this one different?
This one is different because of the, at the beginning, I tell people that at the beginning of the pandemic, we were there. We were able to man it where we had enough nurses, okay? And then we went through the pandemic. I myself, as you know, worked the COVID ICU at North Memorial from the very beginning. And I would say over 40% of our nurses have left. Kind of at the 2.5-year mark, they just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't blame one single one of them for moving on to something different. And the one thing I will say about the whole pay business, if money was truly our only gain, our only ambition in this whole endeavor, we would all be travel nurses right now. Okay? If that's what we really cared about, we'd all be traveling right now. So.
But Mary, how are these negotiations, the business side of it, how is that different?
The business side of it. Oh, as far as.
Like going to the table, how has this been different than the times before?
I guess every negotiation starts where they just appear like they don't listen. It usually starts in March, and we usually were able to get it done in June, mid-June. And it was, they kind of half-heartedly listened. But by May, we would usually kick in. We would have negotiation sessions well into the night. They make a big deal about, we're on our 18th day. Well, in the past, by for sure end of April into May, we were staying till 1, 2 in the morning. I don't know about the rest of you, but we all stop at 4:35, And so they would say, and we've been bargaining with our proposals all along. They would say that we're dragging our feet, but we've actually put in half the time that we normally would do. So that's different. And then the fact that we were up, the Metro was up June 1st, and now Duluth was up June 30th. And once July 1st hit, that meant we went from 12,000 nurses to 15,000 nurses. And now we also have Moose Lake, who's been wanting a contract for 2 years. And so they're going to be in on it. And if you guys know where that is, that's 40 miles south of Duluth. A hospital that would potentially pick up the slack when the hospitals in Duluth go on strike. So those are two differences right there. And the biggest thing, I told Attorney General Keith Ellison the other day, I said, here's the thing, if it was just about money, they wouldn't be wasting all this money on travelers, et cetera. It's about control. Control over our schedules, control over our benefits. It is about control, and that is probably the top thing that is different. They're being so obvious about it. They want to treat us like we're, no disrespect to the restaurant industry, but they want to treat us like we're servers that come for the breakfast, go home, and come back for the lunch. Only be there when the patients are there, literally. And that just doesn't work.
Mary, with respect to the proposal and them running at patients with no profits, but right now they're reporting no profits. And reporting huge multi-million-dollar losses. And even if you took all the CEO pay and chucked it out, they'd still have huge multi-million-dollar losses. Is this a good time to be making a big ask when they don't have much money because they might have had in prior negotiations?
All right, I'm trying not to crack up here. I would take that seriously if there wasn't one single hospital system that doesn't have a big, grand building planned. Everything from our hospital, Maple Grove, our non-union hospital, that they want to expand it, to I believe Fairview wants to build a nice 1,000-bed hospital on the East Bank, and Alina Surgical Centers. Big, huge hospital of Essentia up in Duluth, and they have the audacity to come to the state to ask for money to help them. And I don't think it's because they don't have the money. They just want the taxpayer to pay for it, which is really ironic because the taxpayer will pay for hospitals that won't have any nurses to nurse, and so when they do go there, they're going to be getting probably debatable care. You can't get care when the nurses aren't there. People come to the hospital for nursing care. So, yeah.
Mary, I'm sorry I might have missed it. Are any of you headed back to the negotiating table
Yeah.
today or within the next 10 days?
Today.
Yeah.
Oh, Methodist is? Are you guys?
Line is on the
But who's today?
I'm today.
Methodist. Yeah. Healthies? Healthies?
Fairview Methodist.
Yeah, we all have dates set up. Some of us have a couple dates set up. We're taking this seriously. Yeah.
Can you characterize the cost of your proposals? I know you have a lot of different hospitals, a lot of different groups, but I mean, as a percentage or just any kind of ballpark figure, that if they say your proposals are unaffordable, can you discuss just how much you think they would actually affect the bottom line, so to speak?
You know, right now, their proposal stands at roughly 4% the first year, 3.5% the second year, 3% the third year. So what is, I don't know if that, that's about what their offer stands for. And they have told us time and time again that that is the total economic package. And so what that means, like at North, where a lot of our nurses, because we were thick in the pandemic from the very beginning, okay? All 4 ICUs at one point were filled with COVID. 3 full med-surg units were filled with COVID. And so our nurses literally burned through their sick leave, either quarantine and things like that. So this is an important proposal for us, is to be able to accrue sick leave faster. And that is going to cost money. See, and I've told them across the table, the percentage that we start with, that we know that we have to literally buy our benefits. You know what I'm saying? And so, and we have a lot of concerns. We have hospitals that are concerned about their insurance being children's, right? Decimated, literally. And all of these various things, they can try to say that it's all that we wanted, and it's not at that number anymore. We wanted 39% all the first year. I don't know how their rhetoric is, but that's not how it is at the bargaining table, and that's not how it is right now. Right now it stands at, they are offering no more than 11% for our whole economic package. And I'm sorry, you might as well buy a bus ticket for all us nurses so we can go work for, I don't know, Target. I think we get a better deal at Target.
They have really good benefits.
Do they have really good benefits? And they have paid family leave there.
Can you characterize what the staffing minimums would look like under what you're proposing? I know staffing issues is a huge one for nurses that I've talked to all over the state.
Yeah.
What would you like to see in place?
Well, okay, I'm going to do 2 examples. We're going to first say the children's example where they had in their, where it's supposed to be 2 babies, 1 baby?
It depends on the acuity of the patient.
Yeah.
In our NICU, if you have a ventilator patient, generally those...
Here, come on, they can't hear you.
Generally, in our neonatal intensive care units, those are the sickest babies that you could ever have, right? Many of those babies should be a one-to-one nurse. So one nurse taking care of that one baby. In the last few months, some of those babies have had one nurse that has 2 other patients or 1 other patient. That's not safe. In the pediatric intensive care unit, those are also children that are on ventilators or very, very sick, the sickest patients in the hospital. They also have had times where that nurse has 2, 3, even 4 patients. That is completely unsafe. There's no way that you can safely provide that care.
And then I would say, and I come from the ICU, where 1 to 2 patients, according to the acuity, is what is reams and reams of research can back this up. And it's becoming the norm for 3 and even 4. And I know for sure up in Duluth, it is 3 is the norm now. And there is evidence that every time you increase the staffing beyond what has been researched as best practice, you start to have adverse events. And let us not forget the article that was out just recently about adverse events rising.
Other questions? Mary, have you thought about, the hospitals kind of have the thought about not agreeing to federal mediation? Are you thinking about bringing in federal mediators to help with negotiations? Why or why not?
Right, it has never been off the table, but immediately enough, they may lock us out. As far as the future goes, we can only hope these 10 days motivate them to take this seriously. Okay? We don't have plans beyond this because we are hoping, that's not saying, we don't have plans beyond this. Okay? And because we are hoping that these 10 days will bring about resolution. Okay? But if it doesn't, we will go out for that 3-day.
Remind me, sorry, remind me, because I know it's changed, the percentage for the economic impact that you're asking for, is it still like 30%?
I believe it's down to 30, what is it? 30.75 or something like that, 30, yeah.
If I can just put one more, we're entering the fall and what could be a surge of COVID again. I don't know who wants to hear that, but pop.
Oh, they're going up.
Influencing your thoughts and bargaining that you're going to enter a time when nurses are going to be needed more than ever, and is that going to influence decisions to
Our path is set right now with this press conference. Is there a reason I'm wearing all black? This is a somber day. We can't, if you think we're yay, or, this is yip for us, it's not, okay? We are devastated that we have to go to these extremes. And yes, you're right, COVID is going up. Every day this past weekend that I worked, every day the morning huddle was the numbers had gone up 2 to 3 more people. So yes, COVID numbers are going up. Are we concerned? Do they need us there? You bet they do. So hospitals, our patients need us, so do something about it.
Everyone good? Thank you.
We're already at the emergency time. We already need nurses.
They had that time period where we announced that we had enough
Yeah.
votes to strike. They need to start.
All right. Thank you for doing the live thing.
You're doing great.
All right.